might be 3 acres. No matter Tunbridge Hill Farm, they've got this vegetable operation that's up on a side hill, and they've got this flat plateau up on it that just from the map alone doesn't show itself. And so that's part of where sometimes we come in is I go out and I ground truth it, I draw on the map, and I go back and I use one of these tools to say, okay, but I think there's about 3 acres of flat tillable soils that would be suitable there. So you ground truth it, and they're mapping millions of acres, so none of these maps are perfect to begin with. But sometimes, too, the thing we'll see is that there was 70 acres, but you see that stone wall about 30 feet back into it. It got tired of getting whacked in the face every time they went around the mow, and then the hedgerow moved in. And there's not 70 acres out there anymore. There might be 50 acres of open field. If you want 70 again, you're going to have to do a bunch of brush clearing, which can be important for the buyer, from their perspective, what's the value of that.
So I tried it out because it was a big question and I didn't know the answer, and the answer is no. The soil, it just represents 14 acres of that particular soil in that particular section. It does not change when you have parcels.
You're going to show us the drawing line?
Yep, now I'll do that.
I think it's
Yep.
fine. Once you do that.
So what did I just do? Stop doing whatever you're doing. This is me and the map director. We have a lot of conversations together. Okay. Mike. I don't know what I did to the.
What was that?
I don't know where the
While
ball
Kara's
is.
working on that, I will just say that when this was labeled before, it indicated that they were prime soils. It's not a perfect indicator, but often the prime soils are going to be the ones that are tillable. You're going to see things labeled as prime soils, statewide significant soils, maybe locally significant soils. They all have different categories, and the best being prime, statewide, often pastures or hay fields might have a combination of prime soils and statewide soils, or they might not be categorized because they're too steep. Or they could be prime soils or statewide soils if they weren't so steep.
Right. And another thing to know about that too is that at least in Vermont with Act 250, prime and statewide soils are taken into consideration as one of the 10 criteria that we have to get an Act 250 permit. So those are addressed. So if somebody was looking at a farm for a non-farm purpose, knowing that where the Act 250 is going to get tripped, will be included based on whether there's primary ag soils, which include both prime and statewide.
So I kind of want to play out your question. I'm going to be guinea pig. Here we go. When you want, yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, I think it is a good point that these are great tools. A lot of the extrapolations of there's areas where they do lots of soil samples and they put that in the data, but the scales that they use to come up with these maps will oftentimes have a specific parcel that doesn't hit right. So it's very important that you may have slopes or wetlands or soil types that aren't really accurate. So it's important to use it as a tool, but if you have a big land transaction that is planning on a certain soil type, you need to, at least as a representative of a buyer or a seller, you need to suggest that they enlist the help of, their ag departments and, really look at what soils are there, because it's quite easy to have a situation where you think you get 32 acres and you only got 12 that you can use, just as you were indicating with this slope issue. We've had properties that I've worked on that have significant part of the property is not what it looks like in the mapping process from a use standpoint. So it's just, I'm not saying it shouldn't be used, I'm just saying when you actually get down to the nitty-gritty, you need to really look at hire engineering and make sure you're getting what you think you're getting.
Well, that is definitely cases where, again, we do bid out there, we'll ground truth these. This is done by USDA, NRCS is where the soil maps originate from, and they will, sometimes when they're available, they will come out to review the site. The only way, Kara, if you want to start on the acreage, then, the only way that you're going to get a precise acreage is to have a survey. But this is a good place to start. The area you talked about, there's more area, the more slope, because this is on a two-dimensional surface, so particularly on the acreage, you do get more air, you get something flat like that along the river. It's actually pretty close. I've compared that to when farmers know how many row feet of given, when big conventional farmers know do things in row feet often, and when you add that up, it often ends up being pretty close. Or if you lay out a certain fencing paddocks for cattle, at that point you know what's going on in the ground, and it often will be very close. It's flat.
What? Oh, man, right, me and measuring.
It's hard to see on here, there's pictures in the tutorial, but what she's done is she's gone to click on, you go first to measurement tools, and you click on the area button. In New Hampshire, it comes up default as square feet for some reason, and so you change that to acres. What she's done, and now what she's doing is she's clicking on a point with her mouse. Just go ahead and do the whole thing.
You don't seem to understand. And this situation? Yeah, that's nice. You have to clip. Mike, just come draw a line, please.
So basically, you just go around the perimeter of your field. You click in one corner, and then you go around and you can click around each corner. And it will give you both the feet. Back and funky.
You should have raised hers first.
Well, if you don't save as drawing, usually this disappears. Sometimes there's been this issue with I think it's the platform, but then there's experience with natural resource atmosphere. Sometimes you get to a triangle and it does. But now I've gone around, I've got my sides here, I'm not being precise, just in the interest of time. I double click, and it gives me 3.92 acres in that area. Then I can add as drawing. So sometimes what you're going to want to do is rather than put too many things on one map, you may go through, you add this field as a drawing, you do another field, you might keep the parcel layers up here, but you may not put the soils layer up or floodplain layers or some of the other layers that we won't have time to get into to put those on separate maps so that it's not too confusing. To have too much on one map gets incredibly confusing. So we're going to need to move on to the next thing. So is there questions on the mapping programs or soils?
So the mapping program do topography of the road and will also do floodplains that are based on what the federal government shows as floodplains?
Yes. Floodplains are in there. Vermont's in some counties, you see that they're revising them since Irene. So some of that data has been taken off. It will be put up when it's updated. So there's floodplains there, and if you bring up the key. So in these they use the 1% floodplain, which is a 100-year floodplain. This is a 1% chance. It's not every 100 years. It's a 1% chance, and then a 0.02% chance floodplain, as opposed to the 500-year floodplain. That's the official designation. Don't use 500-year floodplain. 0.02% chance. So,
I think if you wanted to go on metadata and it gives you more information.
is there any other question yet?
One thing I've never really understood, and maybe this isn't appropriate to ask at this point, but Act 250 and someone purchasing a piece of land that has been aged, they're going to now build a house on it, or it's in an IC zone, something. So that means it has to be taken out of Act 250. Is there something?
It's not taken out of Act 250. Act 250 is the permit, the current use.
Yeah, and it's taken out of agricultural.
Yeah, we're gonna get to current use later.
Okay.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. So there's, worked your way through the tutorial after we did the last class. I got a few calls from people who wanted some help on some things, and we're willing to help you work through them. I know another realtor that took it, of course, the first time we've been using this tool regularly. Some of the other things I wanted to mention, going back to the ground truthing, one of the things important is to see what's actually happened on the ground. Has there been any kind of soil removal? So like on one property where the topsoil was all sold off, so Madison was prime mag soil, and then the topsoil had been taken off. Some, these soil designations, these soil types are based on depth of soil, for native fertility, native drainage, stoniness. Some of those could be altered somewhat. So for instance, drainage. It might be tile drainage that's been installed in weather fields, and it's good to know that, because that field is probably much more productive. Some soils you'll see that are labeled, like limerick soils, are labeled prime when drained. And so if tile drainage is been put in, it's actually going to be much more productive soil, and the farm buyer is going to know that. Farmers are also going to want to know what is the farm dumps. I mean, I think any buyer is going to want to know that, but there are cases where there are farmers that have a pit they've been dumping things in. Increasingly, there's more interest in land that's certified organic. Organic is something that has an official legal definition by the federal government. And so things that are labeled organic should meet that criteria. What Bill from Vermont, which certifies in Vermont, tells people that are listing properties is that they can list it as potentially certifiable as organic if that's in fact true. But they should not label it as organic land because it's not been certified. Potentially certifiable would be the proper designation. To do that, it has to meet criteria that no prohibitive substance has been applied to that land for 3 years. So that's sometimes where people get tripped up. They say, well, I didn't spray anything on it, but they spread urea fertilizer. Well, isn't urea natural? Well, if it was actual urea from Europe, but it's not. It's synthetic urea. So that land is not actually organic. So there's been some land that's been misrepresented, particularly with that one. There's been some chemical commercial fertilizer that's been applied. If you want to get into depth, there's guidelines that NOFA has up there that can tell you prohibited substances that the property owner can go through with if there's any question at all. There's also record-keeping forms that they have for new fields. The same exact rules apply in New Hampshire. Again, it's a federal designation. But in New Hampshire, it's not handled by NOFA, it's handled by the State Department of Agriculture handles the organic certification. So the main thing is to know is don't advertise something as organic unless it really meets the federal criteria.
Can we hire somebody to go out and pull a soil sample and test to see if there are any substances?
It has to be, the property owner would have to sign a legal affidavit that nothing has been applied that is prohibited. Because there's nothing, you couldn't possibly test for all the possible chemicals cost prohibitive. And some of them, it doesn't really matter if it's been, if there's any residuals. It's still 3 years from application. Urea is going to disappear. Matter of fact, urea volatiles to the air. You're not going to find any trace of synthetic urea. You're not going to find a trace of a lot of these things. The fact is that it's a federal requirement, 3 years of no prohibited substance. And that's, if the property owner is leasing to a farmer, then they should have the farmer also sign an affidavit saying that they do not apply anything that would be prohibited. And yeah, I find, some farmers that get confused about some of the substances that they think, oh, that must be allowed, and it's not. And that, sometimes there are things that are actually allowed in Canada that aren't allowed here, and vice versa. So it's really following those kind of guidelines. So the first day of knowledge, I just want to reemphasize that is really important. So, this gets back to ground truthing. If somebody goes out there and if you can talk, if the buyer can talk to the seller about if they're the ones who've been farming, and they can describe to them, is this field wet? Can you get it on? Can you get it on in the spring? How early can you get it on in the spring? How is it for stonies? Have you ever tilled this field before? Because there are fields that farmers have never turned over. Actually, one we were accepted in Tunbridge, we looked at what the map said, but without knowing what if the farmer hadn't turned it over, we wouldn't know exactly how much stones the glacier left in that particular spot, because that's the main influence here is flooding and glaciers. And so, where rocks end up, sometimes there's more rocks than you would find from the maps, expect to find from the maps, and sometimes there's less. So first, the knowledge is really critical. And we already talked about field acreage, so I want to let Carrie go on to water resources.
So in terms of water resources, it's just making sure that you're aware of what are all the possible sources of water on the property. So you've got the well at the house. Are there any other wells on the property? Are there any springs that are on the property? Does the spring only work for the spring, early summer, or is it something that's going to generate water for the farm on a year-round basis? Capacity is big. So even if you have a well, is the well going to be able to meet the needs of the commercial farm? As a landowner who knows he has 2 wells on the property and who wants to make it available for farming, and there's someone who's interested in leasing the property, but they're going to need a lot of water for their operations. So they want to know, well, what is the capacity of the well? To which you went, I know there is a well. So right now, I'm in the process of finding someone to come out and, examine the well and be able to let this person know what the capacity is going to be for that well. Or are they going to need to do something so that the water that's needed can be able to be provided? So another thing to think about would be water rights. There might be with other parties. So maybe you have water that's on the property, but it's not solely for your use. It might be that it has to be shared with another property owner, and just what is that going to mean for purpose of a prospective buyer? Let's see. I guess in terms of, does the property have a stream, a river, a pond? Have they been used in the past? Can you draw water from them? Does the town regulate them in any way? Just making sure you understand everything that's going on. Am I missing anything, Mike, you can think of?
Well, I think that one of the major questions we will ask is when there were 60 cows in the barn, did you ever run out of water? Because that, you know, there's a big difference in capacity that you need for a household versus a livestock operation. Generally, they're not going to be able to draw enough water out of well for irrigation unless it's a really, really high limit well. So somebody running water for irrigation, it's either going to be in a pond or access to a river. Right now, the Food Safety Modernization Act is giving farmers a lot of concern because it's not clear on what the water testing requirements are going to be for irrigation water. So everybody's going to drop out of the Connecticut rivers and a little bit worried about what's going to have to be tested for food safety, whether or not the rivers are going to be able to meet it. Generally, you can't draw out of the stream, whether it's for livestock water or for irrigation, unless you're not having a negative influence on the stream flow. Then you can get into problems with regulators. So if somebody's been, the other thing too is that increasingly, especially in Vermont with X64, I think 64, not 46, 64, there's going to be more requirement for buffers, which is going to take some land out of production, but it's also going to mean that water can't be, people that water their animals that are actually in the stream may not have access, whereas easy access. They may still be able to draw water out of that stream for livestock, but they may not be able to have their animals go down to the stream the way they used to for water quality concerns. So that just means that, you know, if the farmer had relied on that as a water source for their livestock, the next buyer coming in has to be aware that they may need to make alternative plans to have enough water. They have enough water initially, but that was based on a stream that they can't really use yet.
From a real estate broker point of view, we're conducting some due diligence prior to a listing or during a listing. Is there a website that has like a clearinghouse of violations for existing farms, either in Vermont or in New Hampshire?
Violations, well, I think that's going to be coming with Act 64. There's nothing in New Hampshire right now that I know of, but with as far as water quality in Vermont, when farms are out of compliance because they're also jeopardizing current use, that will be coming. It's still in the rules-making process, so
I'm dangerous with my knowledge, but it seems like I've read about some violations in the St. Albans area of dairy farmers, especially with a lot of nitrogen runoff. That should be part of a holding.
There isn't necessarily specific violations. That's what will potentially change with the regulations. Large farms and medium-sized farms each have to have permits. Those are pretty well enforced, and most of those farms are not in violation most of the time, though some of the regulations will change that will tighten things down more on them. It's more of St. Albans Bay, and the Siskoy River just has a lot of farms on it, and a lot of nutrients going in it, and it had for 50 years. So, I think, unless there's more questions about water, I'll just say that one of the things that often seems to get missed is that capacity for the well. If there's any way of getting that information to say that it's got 3 gallons a minute or 60 gallons a minute, it makes a difference. I was farming, my first farm in Westminster had a 425-foot well. It had a 3-gallon-a-minute capacity. And it was not enough. When we were washing milking equipment in the morning, we often ran out of water because it was supplying the house as well. So somebody got up and was using the house. And so eventually we had to have another well drilled on the farm. My landlord did. We went to 120 feet and had in a different location that had 60 gallons a minute. It made all the difference in the world. And I had run out of water at points where I took water from another well on the property, piped it to the milk house. And the milk house inspector showed up and they wrote me up because I didn't have that well tested. Even though I was thinking that was the water I was drinking. But we eventually got that straightened out. But that made a big difference in whether the state was going to shut them down for being able to process milk or not. So, I think now's a good time for a break. We actually, we can break for